This is Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on the DAZN. The legend Tony Sims joins me. Tony, I was speaking to George just a minute ago. That man's a little bit of a savage, isn't he?
He is, and he's only young, 22 years old, and technically he's very good, and he punches very hard. He's dedicated to the sport, and as you see tonight, the amount of tickets he sold tonight as well. He's got a great future ahead of him, and I'm really excited about his future, and he's a great prospect.
In terms of George now, I know I just spoke to you about that WBC FA Cup style tournament. People will look at tonight, fans will look at tonight, and I guess George will look at tonight as well, and perhaps not want to get carried away, but want to be thrown into the deep end in these big fights. Is it your job to just kind of pull the reins a little bit, although we would love to see George in massive fights next year? How do you kind of deal with that scenario?
Yeah, I think George is developing really well, and obviously there's titles in front of him to win, and I'm really pleased with his development. I've had obviously great middleweights before, and this kid's an exciting fighter, and as you see tonight, the amount of tickets he sells as well, the crowd love him. He's a good-looking, clean boy, and a great personality, and I think he's got such a great future in front of him. He's a great prospect, and the kid can proper punch as well. I mean, that guy he boxed tonight, 30 plus fights, never been stopped, so he's a great prospect.
You talk about middleweights that you've had, and one that I've got an attachment to that I was a fan of when I was a kid was Darren Barker. Is there just like a different feeling when you've got a fighter who you've had success in their weight class in the past? Like, are you looking at George and perhaps seeing a bit of Darren Barker and feeling a different feeling because of what you've had before?
Well, as you say, Darren Barker was British, Commonwealth, European and world champion, was a great prospect as well, so a little bit you look at them and think the comparisons. Obviously I had John Ryder, who's a great middleweight as well, and you got to look at, I obviously see comparisons with all of them, do you know what I mean? And George is a great prospect like they was, and you can see that, and I'm expecting George to do great things in boxing. The way he's going, everything he does, he's dedicated. He was always asking questions. You work on things with him, and he'll take that into sparring and work on it in sparring, and that's where it's all learned in the gym. And I'm really pleased with him.
I'll ask you an uncomfortable question to finish up on George. Who punches harder, George Liddard or Darren Barker?
He's both good punchers.
You say George Liddard.
Darren was a good puncher as well. If you look at his record, he was a good puncher. He won the British title stoppage, and he was a good puncher as well. But obviously, there was different styles, and Darren was a great prospect. George is a great prospect, and Jimmy Sains as well, great prospect. He's like probably a year behind George, but he's another great prospect who can punch. He's technically very good, dedicated, and you see tonight with the tickets he sold as well, the crowd in here for him as well. I mean, both of them sold the place out on their own, and it's a brilliant thing. They both live within a couple of miles of each other, so they've got a lot of the same people that follow them. So it's just a great thing that they both do together, and it was a great atmosphere in here tonight.
Yeah, there's some power behind the hands of those Essex boys. Just in terms of having George, Jimmy and Maisie under John Ryder's tutelage as well, having that all on one card, and the card obviously being promoted by your boy Charlie, did you get a moment tonight where you could just take a step back and be proud that not just your gym, your fighters, your friends, your family, everyone is involved in this show? Did you get a moment to just look and go, wow? Yeah,
and as you say, my son's first debut show, he sold the York all out. I'm very proud of what he's done. He had a couple of last-minute pull-outs within a couple of days, which was a shame because obviously shortened the bill from 9 fights to 6 fights. But listen, he's done a great job still tonight, and he put on a great card, and he's a very, very intelligent young man. He's been in boxing a long time. He's managed at a really young age, and he understands about boxing. He's obviously been through a boxing family, and he's a young man who's got a great future ahead of him, you know, and I believe that his promotions will grow and grow, and we've got, you know, a few special fighters in the gym.
I did ask him actually at the press conference. Obviously, he said he's been through different stages, promoting now, he's done his managing. He said he did a bit of fighting back in the day. He said he wasn't too bad, but I've got to get it from the horse's mouth. Could he fight a little bit?
Yeah, he had a couple of fights for Repton as a young boy, as an amateur, and you know, so he's boxed and he's been in the ring. He understands that, you know, and as I say, he's been around boxing his whole life, and he, you know, he loves the sport, and you know, he's young. He's like 32 years of age, promoting, and you know, I think he's got a great future ahead of him, and he's done this show on his own, and I'm really proud of the what he's done tonight.
It says a lot that it was picked up and broadcasted worldwide on DAZN. Right, we're going to talk about Conor. I spoke to Conor tonight. He didn't want to do too many media. I know he's had a turbulent couple of years. Everything seems to be rosy now in terms of leaving that in the past, but now you've got two big options in front of him, and I guess probably one of the biggest decisions of his career to make. There's the world title for Mario Barrios. There's, I mean, the biggest fight, bar Fury AJ, in British boxing in Chris Eubank Jr. As you sit here right now, Tony, what do you think Conor's next fight will be?
As I sit here right now, it's 50-50, to be honest.
Like the Eubank purse?
Yeah, because exactly. Because look, he's ready to go. He's ready to fight either one of them. You know, the stumbling block is obviously from Eubank's side. Even though Ben Shalom saying it ain't, it's definitely from his side. We want to do the fight. We want a 50-50 split. Do the fight. We're ready to go. If it can't come to a conclusion, then he'll be ready to fight Barrios. You know, he's number 2 in the WBC. The number 1, Sissoko's injured. So Conor's ready to go into that fight as well. So he's in a fantastic position from being out in the wilderness for a while. He's now back in a great position, and either one of them fights, he'll be ready to go. And I think either fight's a great fight for him. As you say, the Eubank fight is probably the biggest fight in Britain now. It'd be in a stadium, and you know, the British public will want to watch that fight, and it's a great fight. And at the same time, WBC world title, you know, that's another fight that's you know, he'd be ready to go into, and look forward to.
Yeah, obviously, I know he's been out in Hamburg at the WBC convention, which obviously would go down well with the governing body. I know he's got a good relationship. We see a picture of him, Mauricio, and Turkey. Turkey's obviously really interested. In terms of that fight, would it be fair to say that, and this isn't that a world title fight will never come up again, but that Barrios fight is there now, whereas in reality, I guess the Eubank fight isn't going to disappear. He could technically fight Barrios and fight Eubank in October. So would that push you maybe towards a world title fight? Like, Eubank Ben is never going to go away, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, Eubank Ben's always going to be there, but I think, like, it's the fight that most of the British public want to see, and, like, you know, if it doesn't happen now and then Eubank might fight somebody else next, maybe he'll win, maybe he'll lose, you don't know. Conor Ben fights Barrios. You know, the fight's still there with Eubank, as you say, so who knows? You know, you just got to see what happens. We're ready to go to for either fight. It's just about now what opponent he's going to fight, but he's ready to go.
Yeah. And this might be a foolish question, but I'll end with it. What happens if he fights Mario Barrios, and what happens if he fights Chris Eubank Jr.?
The Barrios fight, I believe he wins, and the Eubank fight, I believe he wins, and he's a special talent, Conor Ben. I mean, for all the problems that he's had, he's got in the ring twice and boxed with that whole weight on his shoulders, which ain't been easy, because when you look at boxing, they say you're 90% it's a mental game, which it is. Mentally, he's boxed 2 fights where he probably wasn't 90% mentally right, and you know, he's won them both, and he's come through a very hard time, and he's at the other end now. His mind's clear, he's ready to go, he's chomping at the bit to go, and he's he's trained all the way through, which has been hard for him as well, but he's there now and he's ready to go.